Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to My Life in Audio Engineering, where I talk about my life in audio engineering, creativity, and tips and tricks on how to make your productions better. Today I'm going to be talking about ways I set up my podcast show and the different configurations that I use personally in order to make my show the best that I think it is. Initially, I started out this podcast wanting to strictly use iOS products and or mobile solutions for both editing and capturing audio and video. Nowadays, I tend to take the best of both worlds and incorporate both iOS mobile methods for capturing audio, as well as using a dedicated field recorder. Depending on the recording situation, as most people would, I have my various methods for recording audio. The first method that I'm going to be talking about is a single person or two-person car setup. For that particular setup, I use a Takstar video microphone, which is kind of like the low budget version of the Rode video microphone, but I think it sounds a lot better. It doesn't add any excessive like low end or anything like that. It just sounds just right to my ears. From there, I have that connected to a 3.5 millimeter extension cable attached to I'm gonna actually check out the model right now. It's a Olympus DM620 digital voice recorder. That's what I use for my audio capturing device or capturing configuration for recording one or two person configuration in the car, or one or two person setup in the car. From there, I import the audio into my Pro Tools rig at my place, edit, and then boom, I have it ready to upload onto Libsyn, which is another thing I want to talk about. I use Libsyn as my podcast hosting provider. A lot of people use other things like, was it Blue Pod or something blue? I forget the name of it, but there's various other ways to get your podcast hosted. I highly suggest you do your homework on what suits your needs. But personally, I like Libsyn, and I like the ability to be able to put my podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and various other streaming platforms, no problem. All right, the second method I'm going to be talking about is two or more person room setup. For that particular setup is a Ion DJ Mixmeister, or a Mixmeister, not DJ. It's a Ion Mixmeister, and I have all the links to all these various products that I use in the description of either the video or the podcast description, or you can look it up on my website as well, which you'll see at the bottom of the description, regardless of what streaming platform you use to watch or listen to my podcasts. So I use that as my interface. For the DAW, I use Cubasis on my iPad. That's what I mainly use to edit my program, or my podcast on the go. And also to counteract with the fact that I only have two ins on that particular audio interface, I use an analog mixer in conjunction with that. And you can actually check out what mixer. I forgot the top of my head what mixer it is, but you'll find it in the links below. So I get whatever amount of mics I have. So that particular mixer only takes 1/4 inch jack, so I have to get adapters. But mainly what I do is, I plug in those adapters into my XLR cables, then I plug in my mic, and then I put the other end on the mixer. And then from there, I take the RCA out, hook that up into the RCA in of my Mixmeister. And then finally, I use a USB-C male to USB Type A female adapter. And ultimately, it gets recognized by my iPad Pro right away, due to the fact that you don't need additional drivers to use that particular interface. And what you're gonna find, if you're trying to do like mobile recording using an audio interface, you're gonna find out that not all audio interfaces will be accepted by the iPad or iPad Pro. What I found, through various research and trying my own gear, is that it has to be an audio interface that doesn't need an additional driver. So you can look it up on the internet to see if your particular audio interface is compatible with iOS. And when I say iPad, I mean like iPad. You can hook up your audio interface to your iPhone, like anything iOS. Make sure you have the right adapter though to plug it into there. Some iPhones will have like a lightning port, so you're gonna have to find the lightning port to USB camera adapter, and there's like various other third-party versions of that. Ultimately they would work the same, but I highly suggest getting the Apple version, only because you're probably gonna end up with more compatibility using that. So from there, I can choose whether or not I want to edit on strictly on Cubasis 2, or I could import that audio that I just recorded onto Cubasis 2 and then bring it into my Pro Tools rig. And sometimes, in the earlier episodes of my podcast, I would do strictly everything on my iPad. I would edit it on my iPad, I would record it on my iPad, and I would even upload with my iPad. And initially I started out doing this. I think I'm just gonna do strictly mobile recording, but I changed my mind. I didn't want to lose my Pro Tools skills. I didn't want to lose any of that stuff, so I just kept with whatever I felt like doing. Like if I wanted to strictly edit on that DAW on my iPad and upload, I could do that, or I could import everything into Pro Tools and edit and send it that way. It just depends on what I'm feeling like doing. And as far as microphones concerned, I recently got these Pile Pro PD MIC 78 microphones for like $13-14 on Amazon. I got two of them actually, and they're supposed to be modeled around the SM57, but personally I think they sound a lot better than the SM57 for its price. I mean, build quality isn't that great. Feels a lot lighter. Feels a lot less rugged, and like if I threw it on the ground like really hard, there's a chance it might break. And also another thing, it's transformerless. So if that's a deal breaker for you guys, don't pick it up. But I highly suggest, for the fact that it's cheap, it gives you another mic. I highly suggest you should pick it up if you like recording guitar cabs or anything like that. It's just a good overall good mic to use, and I've been using it on my podcast whenever I record, at home, and I've also been using it for my my video game streaming, which is I don't really talk about, but it's there. I use it for that, and it sounds great. It sounds like pretty good solid mic to use overall. I mean, eventually I'm probably gonna get a Shure 7B or SM7B like most people have been getting, but right now I'm kind of saving up, because that thing is for like $400, and I really got to save up for that. I'm not trying to buy all this stuff with credit and then what I mean. But yeah, so that's the second configuration I use. The third configuration I use is my Presonus 1824C audio interface that I have already installed into my rack system. I use that in conjunction with my Pro Tools rig, Pro Tools 10 HD. Yes, I still use Pro Tools 10 HD. I don't want to pay for the newest one right now. It's just too expensive right now for me. So it works, why not? But eventually I will upgrade. So that's going to be in due time. That's definitely in the works as far as upgrades go. But for that configuration, it's pretty straightforward. You got the interface, you got the mics, you got the XLR cord plugged into that interface, and then push 3, push 3, which is the shortcut for record, for anyone who doesn't know that. And yeah, just let it do its thing. And then I'll edit within that DAW and then eventually upload it, and we're good, you know, into the streaming platform of your choice, and you're good to go. So those are the 3 methods that I use in order to capture audio. Also, here's a bonus tip for anyone who's trying to podcast or even, you know, just record any sort of vocals. You know, you can get away with just using a Blue Yeti USB microphone or a Blue microphone, or anything along the lines of like a USB condenser microphone, or, you know, something like that, you know. And there's various options online. Those are the 2 main ones that, you know, I talk about, because I own the Blue Yeti, or not the Blue Yeti, but I own the Blue Snowball microphone USB. It's pretty solid, I'd say. It actually has like multiple polar patterns, if that's something you're interested in. And that's for someone who just wants to start out and doesn't want to buy an audio interface and just wants to record their voice. That's a pretty good option. But, you know, I'll tell someone, you know, who's just trying to start out, is if you're going to use that option, be mindful that it's a condenser microphone, and it will pick up background noises. It could pick up an ant's fart. Like, you got to have some sort of a, you know, acoustically treated room. I mean, you can use something like a closet full of clothes. You can record your podcast in there, and I'm sure it'll sound great. It'll sound fine for what you're trying to do. But yeah, just make sure you record at a spot that has very little to no noise, and you should be able to get away with that. Also, another mic that I have in my arsenal is a Samsung Go mic. I hardly use that these days because I have other ways that I can record, but that's another good option because it's low cost. It's around like $50 on Amazon, maybe even less now. I actually picked mine up at a thrift store for like $10, but hopefully you can get lucky like that if you look around on the thrift store. But Amazon would be your best bet for something like that. Ultimately, I highly recommend any of those options for anyone who's just trying to start out and not having to buy any additional gear like a audio interface or XLR mics or anything like that, you know. And the beauty of those 3 options, you can actually plug straight into your iPhone or iOS device too. And, you know, I've tried many configurations before starting out this podcast using the existing gear that I had, and I found that, you know, all 3 of those mics, actually I can't verify for the Blue Yeti since I don't have that one, but I'm sure it works. Definitely do your homework first before you purchase any gear. But the 2 mics that I did mention that I do own, which is the Blue Snowball microphone and the Samsung Go, they both work on iOS. If you don't want to go all out and download Cubasis 2 for, what is it, like $49.99, you can get yourself another app, DAW app, like let's say GarageBand. You can totally use GarageBand to record your podcast if you wanted to. And from what I remember, they're actually free. Yeah, they are free. Yeah, GarageBand's free, so you can totally use it for that. You can totally use it for that. And for all you musicians out there, this is kind of a separate thing, but you can definitely record pre-pro with the iPad, GarageBand, and a USB mic if you wanted to. Like, it's a great time to be alive right now. Seriously, with all the amount of options or budget options for anyone who wants to start out in audio engineering or music production, or, you know, taking their audio to the next level with their video production or anything along the lines that fits in there, in that little category of creativity. So I highly suggest anyone multiple times, you know, to, you know, check that out as an option. If that fits your needs, if a USB microphone fits your needs and you don't want to expand on that, by all means, just go for that. But if not, if you want to kind of like future-proof yourself, and if you think you're going to be a little more interested in audio engineering in the future, I highly suggest getting some kind of a field microphone, like a Zoom microphone, or audio interface that has multiple outs and ins. I definitely highly suggest that if you're trying to future-proof yourself and take on a little more extensive projects. And also, if you're going to do that, I highly suggest investing in a dynamic microphone that fits your budget as well. Yeah, I highly suggest that. Like I'm really bad with mic models, but the top of my head, a Shure 7B microphone would be great. It's $400. It's a little bit pricey, but if you are thinking about doing this for the long run, definitely invest in that, because I'm actually going to get that myself at a later date. Like, money's kind of tight right now, so I've been using just the existing gear that I have, and so far I've been getting away with it. But yeah, definitely check that out too. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And be sure, if you want to see a video version of this podcast, or a video version of this particular subject of me explaining my setup in greater detail, feel free to hit me up. And eventually, if I get enough people who are interested in that, I will do a video on that. Yeah, because I want to help you guys out. I want to help you guys get started. I also want to help anyone who's currently doing it and might hear a better way of conducting their podcast through my podcast. That's great. I just want to spread the information, spread what I know, and ultimately learn from anyone else who has, something to bring to the table as far as audio production goes. So yeah, let's definitely have a discussion about this, and it'll be great. We can all learn from each other. Other than that, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a good day, guys. Later. Also, for anyone who wants to check out links to the various products that I use for my podcast, you can find all that information at the bottom of the description. If you're on YouTube, if you're on, let's say, iTunes or Spotify, you'll see the link to my website. You can check it out on my blog list. It's going to say something along the lines of what gear I use. You can find links and pictures as well of all the products that I use for my podcast, as well as for my other audio engineering projects. Feel free to check that out. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and later.